The Lost Map of Fantasia. In the bustling heart of London's most peculiar antique shop, nestled between an ornate mirror frame and a dusty gramophone, lay a rolled parchment. It was ignored by most, however, to the trained eye, it was the coveted lost map of Fantasia. One chilly evening, Eleanor, a historian with an affinity for the mystical, entered the shop. She had spent years chasing whispers and rumors about the map. Her research indicated that the map was not just a relic but a gateway to Fantasia, a world of unparalleled wonder. Unbeknownst to Eleanor, another individual, Maxwell, had also learned about the map's arrival in London. A treasure hunter by profession, Maxwell sought the map for its rumored treasures. As Eleanor carefully unrolled the parchment, the map shimmered under the dim shop light. Drawn with incredible detail, the map depicted islands floating amidst azure clouds, sprawling forests that seemed to move, and majestic mountains that, embedded within it, were intricate runes and symbols. As she traced the pathways with her finger, the shop's surroundings blurred. An overwhelming sensation of weightlessness took over, and before she could comprehend the situation, Eleanor found herself in Fantasia. The transition was jarring, but the sight that met her eyes was breathtaking. Majestic dragons soared overhead, iridescent fish floated in the sky like balloons, and the land was bathed in a soft, perpetual twilight. Tall, elegant creatures with silver hair and opalescent eyes approached her. "You have the map," one of them stated more than questioned. Eleanor nodded, clutching the map tightly. "I seek knowledge and understanding of Fantasia." Simultaneously, Maxwell, having touched the map moments after Eleanor, appeared. Quickly assessing the situation, he introduced himself as an ally, whispering to Eleanor about the treasures they could obtain. The ethereal beings, sensing Maxwell's intentions, frowned. "Fantasia's treasures are not material," one of them said. "They are experiences, memories, and emotions." Eager to prove himself, Maxwell challenged them. "Grant us a quest, and if we succeed, you provide us with a treasure." The beings agreed, setting forth a challenge to find and drink from the enchanted spring, which granted visions of profound wisdom. Using the map, Eleanor and Maxwell embarked on their quest, facing challenges that tested not just their skills, but their very characters. They navigated the whispering woods, where trees told tales of old, scaled the luminous peaks, where stars provided guidance, and crossed the Reflection River, where the water mirrored one's deepest fears. Throughout the journey, Eleanor and Maxwell's dynamic evolved. While Maxwell remained focused on the tangible reward, Eleanor began to understand Fantasia's true essence. The journey made her realize that the real treasure was the wisdom and experiences gained along the way. When they finally reached the enchanted spring, Eleanor drank eagerly, her eyes flooded with visions of ancient civilizations, cosmic events, and insights into the universe's very fabric. Maxwell, however, saw only glimpses of gold and jewels, leaving him frustrated. As they returned to the beings, Eleanor, enlightened and enriched, expressed her gratitude. She had found her treasure, the wisdom of Fantasia. Maxwell, bitter and feeling deceived, demanded a physical reward. Understanding his desire, the beings handed him a single, radiant gem. However, once he returned to the human world, the gem turned to dust, symbolizing the fleeting nature of material desires. Eleanor, back in the antique shop, carefully placed the map back, her eyes filled with the wonder and wisdom of Fantasia. She realized that while the map was a bridge to a magical realm, the true journey was one of self-discovery and understanding. As for Maxwell, he continued his pursuit of worldly treasures, never truly grasping Fantasia's essence. But Eleanor, forever changed by her journey, dedicated her life to sharing the tales and wisdom of the land she had briefly called home. The Dancing Shadows of Elm Street. It was a calm Friday evening. Children played outside, their laughter echoing down the street, while the adults tended to their gardens or sat on porches, enjoying the cool breeze. Elm Street was like any other street in town, with its row of charming houses, each with its garden bursting with flowers and the towering elm trees lining the road, giving the street its name. But as the sun began to set, casting long shadows on the pavement, an uncanny phenomenon unfolded. At precisely 7 in the evening, as the last light of the sun played with the shadows of the elm trees, they began to dance. Yes, dance. The shadows, dark and elongated, swayed and twirled, moved and grooved to a silent rhythm only they could hear. And as quickly as they began, within a mere few minutes, the spectacle was over. To the new residents, the sight was alarming. They'd rush into their homes, bolt their doors, and peek from behind curtains. But the older residents of Elm Street, they'd pull out chairs and sit in groups, watching the performance with fond, knowing smiles. Jenna, a 10-year-old with a curious spirit, had witnessed this marvel ever since she could remember. Fascinated, she decided she needed answers. Armed with a notebook and pen, she approached old Mrs. Higgins, the eldest resident of Elm Street. Mrs. Higgins, a frail lady with silver hair and spectacles, beckoned Jenna to sit beside her. "So, you've come to know about the dancing shadows?" she asked, a twinkle in her eye. Jenna nodded eagerly. "Why do they dance, Mrs. Higgins?" With a sigh, Mrs. Higgins began her tale. Decades ago, Elm Street wasn't like this. There were no homes, no children playing. It was but a barren lane with these elm trees. But then, a traveling troupe came to town. They were dancers, the best the world had ever seen. They danced under these very elms, from morning till night. Their passion, their energy seemed to be absorbed by the elms. When they left, the trees had changed. Every evening, as the sun set, the shadows would recreate their magical performances. Jenna was entranced. "So, the trees remember the dancers?" Mrs. Higgins nodded. "Yes, my dear. Nature has its way of holding on to memories, of love, of passion. The dancers gave the trees a gift, and the trees replay that gift for us every evening." Jenna smiled. "It's like the trees are telling us a story." Mrs. Higgins chuckled. "Indeed. But remember, it's not just a story of dance. It's a story of passion, of giving something your all. Whenever you feel lost, come watch the shadows, and let them remind you to dance through life with all your heart." Jenna hugged Mrs. Higgins, her heart full of gratitude. From that day on, the dancing shadows weren't just a spectacle to her. They were a reminder of the beauty of passion and the magic that it brought into the world. Years passed, and Jenna grew up, but Elm Street's mystery remained. Every evening, residents and even visitors would gather, waiting for the enchanting display. And long after Mrs. Higgins was gone, Jenna, now an old woman, continued to share the tale with youngsters, ensuring the legend of the dancing shadows of Elm Street lived on. But what caught Sophie's attention the most was a city in the distance, with towering spires and flying creatures. "What is that place?" she asked the boatman. "That," he replied, "is the City of Dreams. Every dream ever dreamt resides there." Sophie's eyes widened in wonder. "Can we go there?" The boatman nodded, steering the vessel towards the city. As they approached, the gates opened, revealing streets paved with clouds and glass buildings that reflected every individual's dreams. People wandered the streets, but they were not ordinary humans. They had wings, tails, multiple eyes, the embodiments of dream characters. In the heart of the city stood a magnificent library. The boatman led Sophie inside, where she found not books, but thousands of tiny, glowing orbs. "Each orb is a dream," the boatman explained. "Touch one, and you can experience that dream." Sophie reached out and touched an orb. Suddenly, she was flying over vast oceans, diving deep and swimming with creatures of legends, then soaring high with dragons. She touched another and found herself dancing on the rings of Saturn. She could have spent an eternity in that library, but the boatman gently reminded her that they had to leave. "Dreamland is vast, and there's still so much to see," he said. Reluctantly, Sophie left the library. They ventured through gardens that changed with one's mood, valleys where one's deepest thoughts echoed, and hills that held memories from the past. She realized that Dreamland was not just a place of fantasy, but also of emotions, memories, and reflections. As the journey continued, Sophie felt a pull, a gentle reminder that this was, after all, a dream. The vibrant world around her started to fade, and the comforting voice of the boatman echoed, "Remember this journey, for dreams have a way of becoming real." Sophie awoke, the morning sun streaming into her room. The memories of Dreamland were fresh in her mind. She realized that the feelings and experiences were genuine while it was a dream one. With a newfound appreciation for her dream adventures, Sophie began to pen down her journey, capturing the essence of the magical realm she had explored. And so, each night, as she closed her eyes, Sophie eagerly awaited her next adventure, knowing that Dreamland held endless possibilities and that every journey would be worth telling.